Hello, sports fans. Welcome on in. It's the Down and Dirty with Scott Mitchell here on YouTube. So glad you could join our show. As always, please subscribe. Like us if you like us. Clearly, if you're here, you probably like us. But we have a lot of fun. This has been a wild weekend. One of the craziest, like actually got me off my couch kind of stuff. Some of the things that happened this weekend. Some of them extremely annoying. We'll get into a lot of that as well. National championship is happening today. Coaches getting fired, cats and dogs living together. It's all happening here on the Down and Dirty. So welcome on into the show. Now, boy, this playoffs has been record setting. It's been probably the most unusual playoffs I think in the NFL in such a long time. Everyone talks about, the best round is the wild card round, and a lot of that is because there's so many games, and then you just get into fewer and fewer games. And oh boy, did these games not disappoint. Even the games that were, as you might say, blowouts. I don't know, there was just one that was, you could argue, was a blowout. One was a little bit painful to watch depending on who you're watching and who you're cheering for. It brought a lot of intrigue and fascination. But man, none of it was disappointing. I mean, it just wasn't even remotely disappointing. Some of it was absolutely gut-wrenching, heartbreaking stuff going on. Just, oh man, you just really feel for some of these players. You could almost argue we'll start with the Bills and the Broncos, and this is a game. I'm just kind of cheering for Josh Allen just because he's been around for so long. He's been so close. He's lost to, his nemesis Patrick Mahomes so many stinking times, and then of course Joe Burrow. But it really felt like this was going to be the year for Josh Allen. It looked like the Bills, were going to win this game. It looked like they weren't going to win this game, and so you're tugging at your heartstrings for Josh Allen, but then you're also just like, oh, I can't believe that Bo Nix, is going into the biggest game of his entire life, and he's not going to be a part of it. And there have been situations like this in the past, in these big games, in these big moments. Earl Morrall and the 72 Dolphins, Bob Greasy kind of has the same. I don't know if it's the same, broke his leg, but out for the season. This one's a little different because some of these guys that have come in, Nick Foles is out there trolling the world that, hey, backup quarterbacks win Super Bowls and that kind of thing. And they do, and they have, and they'll continue to. And who knows, this might be another year of the backup quarterback coming through. But just devastating from Denver and Bo Nix, and really been a big fan of Bo Nix, been a big fan of Josh Allen. Both of these teams have played well this season, and it's just unfortunate that they have to have this happen. Now, if you're Josh Allen, I guess the thing that really I want to say, I don't know. I'm always fascinated by this, and I was really wondering, was Bo Nix going to be up to the moment? Was he, was it going to be too big for him? And really the same thing for Josh Allen. You just have a situation where the moment just seems too big, and you wonder if it is to some degree. The Broncos got a huge bump in the end of the first half, and just some carelessness by Josh Allen. And in a situation, you just go, dude, like, you got to learn to live to play another down. There just has to be a moment where you just say, and it's easy for us to all sit here and point fingers and whatever, because when you're out on the field, you're trying to fight for every inch, every moment, every second, every point. And that's a mindset. And there's always this fine line between, when is enough, and when should you change, and when should you just stop and just, and some coaches will just shut it down. We're just going to kneel on the ball, go into half, whatever. And other coaches are like, hey, we've got to take advantage of every second we have in these situations. And that's where the ball security, the preciousness of maintaining that ball security, the uber vigilance to protect the football really has to be paramount. Now, some people are like, "Oh, he's in the pocket," and you saw a lot of balls knocked out of quarterbacks' hands really throughout all of the games. And some of that stuff's just unavoidable. I mean, you cannot see what's behind you. You can kind of feel it to a sense, but you just really can't feel it. And so when your arm goes back to throw, you're having the confidence that no one's behind you that's going to knock the ball down. And unfortunately, it happened on several of those occasions. So I don't think that's necessarily bad ball security, but certainly was kind of a challenge for kind of really for a lot of people, a lot of quarterbacks in the playoffs. Now, of course, the big moment in the Bills Broncos game was the huge catch that turned into an interception. I swear I learned things, and I think we've learned things this year that we've never seen. There's a 1 point safety that's a very rare play. This interception is a very rare situation, one that you don't see a lot of. It's kind of like what's going on in our society today. We all look at a video, and depending upon which way we lean, we kind of have a judgment that way. I'm sure the Bills fans, for the rest of the for whatever, are going to say, hey, that was clearly a reception. He had possession. He was down on the ground. And then the Broncos fans are going to say, hey, this is the rule. This is how it's interpreted, and this is what they saw, and they moved on. I didn't like the whole comment about trying to move the game along. It's like, are you kidding me? This is a game for all the This is for people not getting fired. By the way, Sean McDermott was fired after this game. So these moments matter. Ball security matters. Taking care of the ball, winning championships matters if you want to keep your job. And so it's not something to just kind of, well, we don't want the game to get bogged. This is the biggest moment. This is I mean, I don't know why anyone would think, oh yeah, it's a non-issue call. I would say I'd say everyone who watched this game looked at that play and said, we need more explanation for this. Please help us understand this play. Now, by the definition of the rule, it appeared that it was an interception. Like, so, but I just feel for, because if I'm on the other side of that, I'm going to fight till the death to say that was a reception. That probably would have ended the game, and it didn't. So it's just like, ugh. Okay. Seattle was the next game. And this was an interesting game. It was one of those situations where you're just like, enough already. San Francisco's just had it's a string of just bad luck, and they ran into a buzzsaw. They ran into a team that was just raring to go. And for me, this whole game was about Sam Darnold, and it was about, can Sam Darnold live up to the bigness of the moment? Is he ready to take that next step? Now, I think he got injured again, or he was injured, or he played injured, or and so we probably won't know the extent of all of that. I mean, to some degree, because they have to let you know, but it was a statement game. It was a statement game by Seattle. It was one of those games that says, we're for real, we're ready to go to the Super Bowl, and I don't see, I don't see San Francisco actually lose. I think it's going to be tough sledding for the Rams. They've been on the road a long time, a lot of travel distance. That's gonna be a real challenge for me to believe that the Rams can do it. Now, it's they're certainly, and we'll get into all that later on about who can really win, and what those championship games look like, and they're going to be good. I mean, these teams are just uber competitive. I think the thing across the board, pretty much everyone, just in these playoffs in general, was how well these quarterbacks played, and they really did. And Sam Darnold was phenomenal. Of course, Brock Purdy wasn't. 49ers took a beating, worst playoff loss in team history. And it just, to me, this game was really just a lot about, Sam Darnold and who he is and where he's come from. It begs the question, because you look at You look at so many of these guys, and to I'm a former quarterback, so I look at it from a quarterback perspective, and I realize it's a lot of the team. And you look at the Houston Texans, and so much of their success was on their defense. I mean, everything always ends up at the line of scrimmage. Whoever controls the line of scrimmage wins games. It's no different. If you turn the ball over, you're not going to win. That's no different. It's just almost impossible to overcome, and you saw that in these games with some of these quarterbacks, and you're kind of scratching your head. But you saw a lot of brilliant quarterback play from a lot of I don't know if I want to say unusual spaces, but I mean Drake May's kind of new to this whole thing. Bo Nix is new to this whole CJ Stroud to some degree. Brock Purdy, I mean, he's been around for a little. Sam Darnold is certainly a guy who's kind of stepping to the forefront. These are these young guys, and these are kind of situations where, I mean, Sam Darnold isn't necessarily a young guy, but he's certainly one who has, you know, kind of stepping forward. And I wonder how much Sam Darnold seeing ghosts with the New York Jets has had an impact on the success he's had right now. And this is the thing I think, and I think it's had a lot personally. I think the fact that he went to the Jets, it was a tough situation. He went to Carolina. It was a tough situation. He kind of was licking his wounds per se with the 49ers, and probably was a good place for him to kind of make that change, but he was still getting opportunities. It's one of those things where you go, maybe we shouldn't give up on some of these guys so quickly. Now it's hard as a team because you go, I'm not the reclamation project guy. But I mean, you think back in the day, Jim Plunkett, he was the first pick in the draft, all this stuff, went to New England. It was horrible. And then he went to the Raiders, and it kind of rejuvenated him. It gave him an opportunity. And I think so often people are ready to give up on these guys, but a lot of it too is these guys that well thought of coming out of college, high first round draft choices, doesn't pan out, everyone goes bust, and then they go and some of them bounce around for a while, and then they just kind of bounce out of the league. And so much of it to stay in the league isn't to bounce around, it's to bounce to the right, place. And you look at Sam Darnold, and he bounced to San Francisco, which I think was probably really good. I would imagine it probably boosted his confidence in law. Then he goes to Kevin O'Connell in Minnesota, and Kevin O'Connell's just had a knack for kind of rejuvenating guys. And so here Sam Darnold has an epic year for them. I mean, what if Sam Darnold stayed in Minnesota? How different would that team be this year? I think Minnesota would have been a very different football team with Sam Darnold, but they had thrown all their eggs into the JJ McCarthy, and I don't know if that's a bad thing either. I mean, time will tell, and we'll see if that was a good thing. But all of this is just giving him experience, but it's been good experience and bad experience. I mean, you can't just continue to have bad experience. You can't continue to go to bad teams, bad organizations, bad structures, bad systems, or systems that just don't fit who you are. And so it's about the right thing. Alex Smith, another, here, Alex Smith, first pick in the draft. They go to the Super Bowl and they do it with Colin Kaepernick, not Alex Smith. And Alex Smith is he bounces, and where does he bounce? He bounces to the Kansas City Chiefs, and in a good situation with a good coach. So I think you're seeing maybe a strategy in the NFL is to not give up so much on some of these quarterbacks that have bounced. Like a guy like maybe Kyler Murray has a change of pace. Maybe he kind of because it's kind of been questionable, or Tua, or and they're not necessarily busts per se, but a change of scenery or the right situation. Who knows what changes these guys? Um I just kind of marvel at how all of a sudden people are good, and then they're just bad, or teams just move on from people. I really I don't understand that, and but it's interesting because everyone said, "Well, Sam Darnold can't win the big game," and he won a pretty big game, and we'll see what happens next week, and if he's healthy. Okay, moving on, the New England Patriots, of course, they forced 5 turnovers, and they've just been a team that's just been pretty steady throughout the season. And one of the things that I think really, there's a couple things about Drake May. You're always looking for how experienced is he? What is there a point that where the game's too big for him? Is it too much? And it just doesn't feel that way. This Houston defense is brutal. Like they were brutal in a good way. CJ Stroud was brutal in a much different way, but for Drake May to face that defense, for a lot of time, it really looked like it might be enough. CJ Stroud turned it around in the second quarter or second half. It looked like, okay, we might be getting somewhere here. This might be a game. But Drake May did two things, I think, that are essential to winning. He didn't lose the game, right? He was in a game that you really could have. Ball security was a challenging thing. It was wet. It was rainy, snowy, brutal conditions. I have to imagine that in that situation, here you are. You're like, okay, this is a huge game. This is a big game. This is a game to get us into the conference championship, and with a shot to go to the Super Bowl. It's a game. It's a game where only two guys are left. Two teams are left to go win, and now we got to deal with all this. We got to deal with a brutally tough defense. We got to deal with weather conditions. And you almost say, gosh, does it have to be this way? It's hard enough just in normal conditions and normal circumstances to win and to do this. And now, yeah, let's just for the sake of just being cruel, as they say, the football gods are not kind. The ball is oblonged and it bounces funny, all that stuff. And and you just sometimes get into these tough situations. And I wonder if sometimes maybe it's almost relaxed. It's almost comical. It's just like, okay, it's like it almost calms you down in some regard. And weather, impacted a couple of these games. And so I imagine it's a challenging thing. But Drake May handled a tough defense. And so he didn't lose the game. By that I mean he didn't throw interceptions. He didn't turn the ball over. He might have had maybe he had an interception, but nothing he did in this game caused them to lose, right? And you look at CJ Stroud and you're just like, dude, like, and I'm sure that it was hard. And there's a factor no one's talking about as it relates to the weather. When you live and you practice and you play in warm weather, so you live in the southern part of the United States, it's humid, it's comfortable, it's awesome to practice in November and December and January. You're like, yeah, we're outside and it's great, and then you go to that cold environment up north and just head anywhere north, and then you're like, oh, no fun. This is not good. It almost felt like the weather had a massively negative impact on CJ Stroud, like throwing the football and the whole team in general. There's just this, I saw it in my time with the Miami Dolphins that it was challenging to go to. Now you don't melt and fall away or whatever, but it is an element, it is a part, it is an impact into the game to some degree. Just as when you're a northern team and you go south and it's hot and sticky and steamy and they make you dress in the darkest uniform you possibly can be in, just to make you as uncomfortable as you could possibly be, all by design. So it does have an impact. And I don't know if it was the absolute most important impact in the game, but certainly it was a significant impact into what happened. So the other thing that Drake May did, and this is the thing that I think drives me crazy about all of this. I'm so tired of dual threat quarterbacks. I really, I think it ultimately you're going to end up with a guy injured. I really think that's ultimately the case. All I know is guys in the NFL, as soft and as simple and as cushy as they've made defenses play, they still hit you. They still are trained assassins when it comes to they will hit you. and they will hit you hard, and they will tackle you, and they're trying to, just so you know, they're trying to twist ankles, they're trying to find ways, and they all do it, and there's nothing wrong. It's the game. And if you're someone that needs to stand back there and sit in the pocket and make plays, you need that's what you need to do, and you need to be able to do it every single down. You look at these teams right now, and I guarantee the Denver Broncos are like, please, please, Bo Nix. And I don't think Bo Nix, by the way, is a dual threat quarterback. And I don't have a problem with scrambling. Is not what I'm saying. This old running and all that stuff, I don't think it really is beneficial. And quite frankly, you look at Caleb Williams and he's getting away from, and I don't think Caleb Williams is per se a dual threat quarterback. I think he's a guy that runs like a chicken with its head cut off, crazy. And I think they're getting rid of that. I'm going to get into Caleb Williams in just a minute because there's a lot people should be excited about Caleb Williams. But Drake May made the throws when the game was on the line, when the weather conditions sucked, when you're playing a really good defense. Now, the catch was like one of the best I've ever seen, but the ball was in a spot. It was in the perfect spot it needed to be in the big moment. And that's what you want to see. And that's where any team that goes to and wins a Super Bowl, that quarterback has to line up and throw the football, and he's got to throw the football in all different areas of the field. Like, it can't just be check down Charlie and win games. You got to throw the ball down the field, and you got to find a way to hit a guy in a clutch moment. And that's what Drake May did. And Matthew Stafford did the same thing. And so I would argue maybe that Bo Nix made some big throws in their game. And of course, Seattle, they just ran over. But you're going to have a guy stand in the pocket and throw the football. And you look at how many teams have won Super Bowls, it's because of that. Yeah, there are occasions, and good for them. I'm not an anti-defensive guy. I'd love to have a phenomenal defense if I'm on a team and I'm playing quarterback. But the guy under center has to make big time throws. Now, the Rams, to go from Los Angeles to Carolina and then to go back to Chicago the next week is a tough ask. It's a massively tough ask for the Rams, and for the Rams to survive in that game and win. And you go here, and you can tell they're just not quite 100%. They're just off. And to find a way to win in a game where you're not, I wouldn't say you're not 100%, is just massively impressive. But it speaks so much of the confidence, the completeness of who the Rams are. And it was just really really remarkable. Now they forced 3 turnovers, and they also stopped the Rams or the Bears on a whole bunch of fourth downs. I mean, they just came up big in those moments, and that's when you win championships. Is the moment is there, and do you make it? Now this is a game, and I'm talking to all those Chicago Bears fans. I'm talking to Martin, my producer. You should be massively excited about where the Chicago Bears are right now. Caleb Williams took a huge step forward of maturity throughout this season, throughout the playoffs, and you should be so grateful that you have had these opportunities, that Caleb Williams has had these big moment opportunities. And in like in the biggest moment, it's just like I can't believe that he made that play. But Caleb Williams is the type of player who can make massively big plays for you. Now, I get it. There's sometimes when you go, whoo, he threw the ball in there, and it's like, and you should be grateful because not every quarterback can throw the ball there. Not every quarterback, they learned with Brett Favre, we've got a special talent here, very unique. And in some regards, Caleb is a little bit like Brett Favre. He's a gunslinger. He's a guy that can rip it, and he does. And you watch, you just watch it on television. You can see the ball just explodes out of his hands. He's got a tremendous arm. I've watched Caleb in college for 2 years, and watched him closely in college and just thought he was this, he was the best talent I think I'd seen in, a long time come through college football. But I just, you should be massively encouraged because you could see that as this game wound down, he was determined to win this football game. Now you look at the interception, and that's a it's a tough play, but I like the play, and I like the play because they're going to win this football game. It's like we're going to win it, and we're going to. This is the play. This is the moment. In fact, as I was watching, I go, this play right here is this game. If they get a nice completion or a nice gain, they're virtually in a position where they can kick a field goal and this game's over. But it's this play right here, and they chose to take a shot down the field. And when you throw a ball further down the field, there's a lot of like trust that goes into that throw. There's a lot of anticipation that goes in the throw because of the distance. Like it's not just a short, quick boom. You can just put them on them throw. You've got to kind of, like when you're shooting ducks and they're far away, you kind of have to lead them a little bit. And it's the same thing. You've got to be able to anticipate that. And the receiver, as he's bending across the field, he sees the safety and he kind of not sure where to go. Right. And Caleb is thinking, well, the safety's, by then the safety was deep. It's really late in the play for the wide receiver to try to get up over the top of the safety, considering he was pretty much the primary guy in that throw. And so the safety comes down on it, reads it perfectly, and the receiver just kind of almost stops, and it's almost like he's confused. He doesn't know what to do. And I think in his brain, he goes, well, he's not throwing the ball to me because look, the safety's right here. And so he's got to really bend that route off, and he's got to at least give him a definitive target or something to go to, as opposed to, I don't know what to do. And that was a tough play. And I know everyone's like, oh, that was a dumb throw. And I don't think it was. I really don't. I think it was one, and it's, again, one of those circumstances where you're just going to learn immensely from. And I would not be surprised in next season, because there's always the hangover teams, right? The teams that just like, oh, and the Buffalo Bills might be a hangover team next year, although they're going to have a new coach. I just don't feel like the Bears are going to be that way. This is a team massively on the rise, and I think Ben Johnson is the same thing. It's his first time as a head coach, and so it's gonna be a different thing. So I'm very bullish on Caleb Williams. I'm very bullish on where the Bears are headed, and I think it's in a really good place, and it'd be a lot of fun to watch them in the Super Bowl or in the future. And by the way, it's entertaining to watch Caleb Williams. Like, it just is. And I think it's going to get more and more entertaining. And I think there's some elements to Caleb Williams that look a lot like Patrick Mahomes. He can make throws. He can do some things that not many people can do. And you have that, and you hone that in. You got the right coach. Watch out for Caleb Williams and the Bears in the future. All right, we come back. Interesting news. Sean McDermott has been fired as the head coach of the Buffalo Bills. I think it's a little bit shocking to me. We'll talk about that and more as the Down and Dirty continues here on YouTube.
Circulon C1 Series Clad with Scratch Defense Non-Stick. The luxury and confidence of premium clad stainless steel meets Scratch Defense Extreme Non-Stick that won't scratch, ever. With an ultra-thick aluminum core for high-performance heating. Maximize cooking, minimize cleaning. Discover the unmatched durability and elegance of clad stainless steel. Scratch-free, worry-free, forever.
Protect your online privacy with NordVPN. Browse securely, access content from anywhere, and keep your data safe with military-grade encryption. Whether at home or on the go, NordVPN ensures your digital freedom. Stay secure. Download NordVPN today at nordvpn.com. That's NORDVPN.com. The grinder mentality that Randy and Brent Habert built into 44 Pro runs deep within our team. Every member shares a passion for the craft, the game, and most importantly, the player. When you step onto the field with a 44 Pro custom glove, you'll feel the difference. It's not just a glove, it's a 44 Pro. Crafted with dedication, made for performance, and built to last. Get your custom glove today at 44pro.com and experience the 44 Pro difference. That's 44pro.com, 44 Pro.
At Mapiful, we believe in celebrating your journey, past, present, and future. Our unique personalized products are designed to boost your confidence, elevate creativity, and honor what matters most. From custom home decor to meaningful gifts, we help you cherish the memories that make you who you are. Visit mapiful.com and start celebrating your story today.
Hey, welcome back, sports fans. Oh, what a crazy Monday. This is the Down and Dirty with Scott Mitchell here on YouTube. So glad you could join us. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Love Mondays. I love every day of the week for the most part. Trying to think of which day of the week do I love the least. Love them and leave them. There's sometimes maybe Tuesdays. Tuesdays, as you know, of course, it's the Sabbath day. For the football faithful, like the religion of football, its Sabbath is on Tuesday, and I'm a person of faith, and I cherish my Sabbath. So yesterday for me was my Sabbath, and it's a day that I spend time devoted to God and to worshiping Him, and so I kind of tongue in cheek use Tuesday as the same for all those people who their religion is football. And it's a lot of America. It's kind of captured us. It's the only day of the week during the football season that there actually aren't any games. Give them enough time and they're going to encroach on the football Sabbath on Tuesdays. So maybe Tuesday's the toughest day for me during football season, just because, but I like all days. I love Mondays. I love these conversations. We were really treated to an incredible game this weekend. I mean, it was just not game, but the sets of games, plays that were just phenomenal. And I think that's one of the things you love the most about all of these games, because they just lay it on the line. They talk about the intensity level, bumping up, and you just see incredible output, right? And you see, through the years, you see these guys just, I mean, it's just whatever it takes. That's what I'm going to do. And it's always about just making plays in the big moments. And you saw that by so many players. And it's just really, really fun to watch, but it's also heartbreaking. It just, Here, this game with the Chicago Bears, and you can feel the fans, right? Bears fans, passionate fan base, and that's what I love about some of these fan bases. They're just so passionate about their teams, and the Bears, haven't felt this for some time, and there's just massive excitement in the city of Chicago, and Caleb Williams is dropping back, and here he's like, you're doing the dumbest thing in the world you could do. It's like, I'm going left and I'm going right, but I'm also doing it while I'm going backwards. And he goes backwards and then he just throws. Now, I believe that was by design. I think he was going there all the way. I think they said, we've got a massive mismatch here. We've got this 5'11" and, wink, wink. I don't even know if he's 5'10", DB against a behemoth of a tight end. And, Emmett or Kemet or Emmett. Anyways, he's big. He's a big dude, and I think they were going there, but Caleb got flushed early, and he didn't really have an escapable place, and so he's like, and it's fourth down. I mean, it's the end of the game, so he just throws this pass up, and it's a perfect pass, by the way. I mean, it couldn't have been more perfect. It's also pass interference. They'll never call it, just so you know. But because I'm trying to figure out, how did the DB just go flying forward and totally misjudged his play. And then when you watch it up close, it's, oh, the big dude pushed him out of the way in a smart way, in a non penalty type of way. And I'm going to get into that in this next segment after this because it's just driving me nuts. The turnovers, the pass interference are just driving me insane, and I believe they're the new threat to people watching football. But I'll get into that in a bit. So here you have this, and the fan. I was in dismay. I was like, you just don't see that every day in the end. It's like this is the Hail Mary of all Hail Mary passes in this moment, and it was just incredible. The funny thing is he threw it from about the 30-yard line, and it was only a 14-yard touchdown pass at the end of the day. So now you're just you're on cloud nine. You're just like, and it really feels like the Bears are going to win the game. And and then they have the interception, and it just goes from ecstasy to just agony in a matter of minutes, and just all the air goes out of the building, and you're just like, oh, I can't believe what's happening here. And then what was awesome is the Rams go 2 minute. They go, we're dead. Our energy's bad. We've got to change everything. We're exhausted. We're in over. It's just, and so they go and they just go 2 minute, and it's like, and they got the Bears on their heels. It was brilliant. It was absolutely an ingenious time right there by Sean McVay to do what they did and to put the ball in the guy's hand. That's Matthew Stafford's going to win or lose it for you. And so these are tough moments. And the Bills had a just horrible moment as well with the interception, with the two pass interference calls, with the turnovers. And they fired Sean McDermott today. And oh boy, it almost feels like to me, it's a gut wrenching. It's an emotional reaction to a situation. Sean McDermott's been a tremendous coach for the Buffalo Bills, and head coaches are good ones. Are hard. They're hard to come by. And I can't, and I know it's been frustrating for the Bills. I can't imagine how that feels, but guess what? You're there. Like when does getting there not enough? When is it like, I look at Andy Reid when it feels a lot like when Andy Reid was with the Philadelphia Eagles, and how many conference championship games did he have in Philadelphia that they lost, and how many times? But the point is that it was a lot of times, it was almost every season times, the success that he had, that they had. The same thing with the Bills. The Bills have just, here Josh Allen's the most winning quarterback who hasn't won a Super Bowl in playoff games. And you see a lot of guys, Peyton Manning had a challenging first part of his career to win a playoff game before, and he ran into Tom Brady a lot of times. And it takes some time. I really don't understand how people want to lose patience with things so quickly. It feels like this is the theme of this show today. You have quarterbacks who they just get rid of them, get them out of here. And now Sam Darnold's a game away from going to the Super Bowl, and he was cast off by 4 teams before he gets to a Super Bowl. And everyone said, we're not even sure if Sam Darnold's the guy for us in Seattle. There was like talk in the beginning of the season. The same thing with these coaches. I firmly believe that if you have a coach that has had success in the NFL, that knows how to win in the NFL, I would hold on to that guy, and I would weather the storm. And I think of all of the teams in the NFL, and of course they just fired their coach, that understand the patience of things, that are willing to work through things, are the Pittsburgh Steelers. And now I think their fan base to a certain degree has come to expect that and appreciate that, and relish the patience is a virtue, and the virtue pays off, ultimately in the end. Because let's be real, people. It's hard to win Super Bowls. Not very many teams have won Super Bowls, and only one wins every year. And we're all, and I understand, because I lived that hamster wheel, if you will, and I was happy to do it. By the way, I wanted to win a Super Bowl more than living life. It's just like it's all I thought about. But everyone doesn't get to win, and yet we're so quick to get rid of people and coaches and players, because we didn't get there. And yet you're battling, you're having success, you're getting to the playoffs, you're winning in the playoffs. You have good teams. You've got this incredible quarterback, just a tremendous quarterback, and Josh, and you got a really, really good football team. If I'm John Harbaugh right now, I might be going, wait a minute. I'd like to go to New York. I just want to go to Western New York. Did I say New? I meant West. I didn't mean, like, boy, this is a team that's not far off at all, from winning a Super Bowl. And Sean McDermott is one of these guys that all of a sudden you go, wait a minute. Sean McDermott's going to end up being a coach somewhere. And someone's gonna snatch him up and hiring, and it might be a situation where he could be even better than he is right now. Maybe he's the newest version of Andy Reid, because he's a very good football coach, and I just really scratch my head to see why. I get it. I don't. I scratch my head. I scratch my head because I wonder if discretion is the better situation here, because this seemed rather quick. This was and I'd love the conversations when coaches in these situations end up getting fired. It could be something someone said, could be something someone upset someone or bruised their ego, which happens from time to time in the NFL. We won't know. Well, we'll just have to see. But really sad that Sean McDermott was actually fired. I really liked what he was doing. I liked. I was pulling for the Bills. I really thought this was going to be the year for Josh Allen, and it just shows you how every single year there's just a lot of teams waiting. Denver wasn't there a year ago. Seattle wasn't there a year ago. The Bears weren't there a year ago. New England wasn't there a year ago. And here are all these teams that, the Broncos, they, won during the regular season, but they've made steps moving forward. And that's the NFL. It's a move on, move up, or move out situation. So, all right, let's take a break. We come back. I have something that's absolutely driving me crazy. And we talk about, this whole thing. I'll get into it in just a minute. It's about turnovers, and it's about pass interference calls. And I'm just like, is this going to ruin the NFL? Because it is absolutely driving me bananas. That and so much more when the Down and Dirty returns with me, Scott Mitchell, here on YouTube.
You probably get unwanted emails almost every single day.
Overwhelmed by your inbox? Clean Email is here to help. Organize, clean, and manage your emails with powerful automation tools. Say goodbye to spam and clutter and enjoy a stress-free inbox. Try Clean Email today at cleanemail.com. That's CLEAN email.com. Get paid faster with Bill, the easiest way to send, receive, and manage your payments. No more delays, no more hassle. Whether you're a freelancer or a business, Bill makes payments seamless and secure, simple, fast, and reliable. Sign up today at Bill.com.
When you learn a language with Babbel, you start a journey that takes you further and further. Anytime and anywhere you wish. It's easy and fun. Broadens your horizons and keeps your brain fit. A journey into new thoughts, new cultures, new adventures. So what are you waiting for? Start your journey with Babbel now. Go to babbel.com or download the app.
Have you ever wondered why so many pet parents are choosing to have virtual vet appointments? Online veterinary care is making it easier than ever to get expert advice for your pet. Our professionals are not only experts in managing urgent concerns, but also in providing top-notch preventative health care. We're proud to connect pet owners to a vast network of licensed veterinary professionals, ready to address any immediate concerns and expand access to pet care. Book your first appointment today.
Hey, sports fans, welcome back. It's the Down and Dirty with Scott Mitchell here on YouTube. So glad you could join our show. So glad to be here myself. It's always fun to talk about sports. It's fun to talk from my perspective and the way I see it. And the way I see it's my opinion. So I hope you like it. I actually am okay if you don't like my opinion. But that's the beautiful part about this. And love to hear your comments and I appreciate everything and I appreciate all of you. I really do. And so we have fun with this. It's not the end of the world, but it's really, really close in the world of sports. And if you've ever played sports, if it's ever been a part of your life, you understand. And quite frankly, more of us need to be playing more sports. And it's what I think will solve all the problems in our world today. Let's go have fun. Let's play sports. Let's be good stewards of the land that we live in. Okay. Now, that being said, I'm just really annoyed by some of the things, and I think this is ridiculous. I'm not sure that there's an absolute solution to this, but these pass interference calls, some of these calls that are happening in these games or not happening in these games or whatever happening in these games, I think are really they're really killing the game. I mean, you have these players who work so tremendously hard and lifelong dreams, and these are circumstances that change fortunes. That there's a lot on the line in these situations, and it feels like to me that you get man-to-man press coverage, single high safety, and most quarterbacks will say, "I'm going to take a shot on the deep ball." Like it's a very common thing to say. And you go, and a lot of times it's gotten this term, the 50-50 ball. Anything can happen. The percentages of actually, something positive happening, it's a coin toss. But I don't even believe it's 50-50. With the way they call pass interference, with the way the game is, it's more like 70-30. Might even be 80-20. So in other words, 8 out of 10 times if you throw a deep ball, you're either going to catch it, you're going to get pass interference, something's going to happen, and very rarely, if ever, you're going to get like an interception. When two guys are running down the field, because the only thing the DB can do in that situation is knock the ball down, right? You're not going to get an interception unless guys get in a weird, awkward position and the ball's massively underthrown or whatever. But a decently thrown 50-50 ball is an 80-20, 70-30 ball in my mind because of how the rules are. And I think that's ridiculous. It's like, okay, you have all this strategy, you have all these great athletes that are battling and they're playing against each other, and it comes down to a subjective call from an official. And here's where it's really hard for me. And the NFL rule says significantly impeding a player's ability to catch the ball. That's and the word significantly is the one in the rule that I think is dangerous. In other words, you can fight, you can kind of go back and forth here, but boy, if it gets out of hand, we're gonna call a penalty. And it's like what? Because every time it looks like it's out of hand. It feels like you could call, so there are certain things, if you hold the arm down, you do some of these things, significant is so subjective, it's ridiculous. And I don't know that it's, I think they try, I don't, it's not the officials are not trying to call this right. They're trying to determine what significant is. And I think that's a hard thing to determine what actually is. Um, and it was huge in this game, in every game. Like the Buffalo Bills. I mean, not only did the interception have a massive impact on the game, and what was actually happening, but it was the pass interference call. So you just go, just throw the ball up. Why not? What do we care? If we just throw it, there's a good chance they're going to call pass interference. And then when you're on the other side of it, you're just sitting here going, wait a minute, um, you didn't call that one. When are you going to call? When are you going to call? And I have to believe the officials go, because I think it's hard because you see it so quickly, and it's in real time, and we have the luxury of rewinding it and looking it over and doing a lot of analyzing. It's a play they will not review, and they don't review it because you go, it's not really clear. It's kind of a suggestion. The rule's kind of a suggestion. Yeah, it's like a stop sign in the state of Utah. It's just a suggestion. It's like if you want to stop, you can, but you don't necessarily have to. I mean, you can just roll around the corner or just roll through or whatever. If someone's not coming, it's just like stop. It's like, and so they can't review it because they go, well, we don't know what was going on in the official's head. We don't know what he saw. We don't know the significant nature of what happened here as the way he saw it. And that just leaves so much up for speculation. I just think it's massively challenging to do it. Now, Sean Payton got robbed, I thought, when he was with New Orleans on a non-call, and then he was the beneficiary of it happening with the Broncos. So this pass interference thing to me is like, are you kidding? Like these athletes are this good. They're doing all this great stuff. And we've just gone back to barbaric, hand-to-hand combat. Isn't there a better strategy? Isn't there a better way to look at this? Because the significance of this is the difference between winning and losing game. It's like a game almost boils down to, are we going to get the pass interference calls and are we not? Now, a lot of coaches will just say, hey, you just got to deal with it. It's just part of the game. It's just how it is. And I think these DBs and wide receivers, I don't know that they really know. I don't think they know how to play, what they can actually get away with. It starts to feel like the flopping, the James Harden sweeping foul, based on where the defender put his hands towards him. It just got to a point where it's just so non-watchable, and that's what it feels like. A lot of these pass interference calls, it just becomes almost non-watchable football. Really, like you're going to go through a whole entire season, and you're gonna base the outcome of your season on two guys, hand fighting on the sidelines, and one of them just did it a little bit more significant than the other one. It just seems like it's got to be better than this somehow, some way. It has to be better than this. I'm not sitting here saying I have the solution for it. But I get it. The DBs, like they don't have a lot to, a lot in their arsenal of how to defend players, because the rules are very much in favor of the offensive player. And I'm not suggesting that it needs to go one way or, for one team or the other. I'm just saying, I don't know. I don't know how you call it. And I don't think the officials are trying not to call it right. I just think it's hard. 1 minute, the interpretation of significant to me changes, and it could change. Maybe they just go, man, I'm not calling anything. I mean, you look at some of these Hail Mary passes and things in the end zone, and the game, the semifinal National Football College game, where you might have argued that was pass interference, and they just go, we're not calling it in that situation. Well, why? because it's the game's on the line. I mean, and if a player knows it, he's like, I'm going to jump all over this guy and never let him touch the ball. That's what I'm saying. It just makes the game not enjoyable to watch. And the other thing that really bugs the crap out of me about some of it's this whole idea of punching the football out and you stop tackling guys and you're trying to strip the ball away from them and it's like it's another thing to me that just gets annoying to the point of you go, look, this game is about blocking and tackling. And I get it. And I know a lot of coaches preach, strip the ball out, strip the ball out, strip the ball out. And I think you should do that. But when guys are just, not even tackling anymore, and they're just trying, almost overtly trying to rip the ball out of someone's hand, it feels to me like it loses the spirit of the game. It has the feel to it that it's just like, yeah, I'm not so sure. These two things, and look, I'm not trying to nitpick here. I'm not trying to degrade the game at all. I'm really not. It feels like these two areas of really trying to create turnovers blatantly sometimes it feels like it just goes too far. And the whole thing with the pass interference, it just feels like it goes too far because you have to, I believe I was thoroughly entertained by what happened this weekend in these playoff games, but there are some things that I just go, that we can do better on. All right. What we're going to do better on is we're going to take a break and we're going to decide if we can do better on our show. We'll see. So you tune in next to find out if we are. There's a national championship game coming up this tonight here for and it's a great game. So we'll get into all of that when we return. Along with, I think we have a suggestion about where Bill Belichick might come back to the NFL, and it's a good one. And Martin wants me to tell him a story, so we're going to have story time with Scott here as the Down and Dirty with Scott Mitchell returns on YouTube.
For 75 years, Nalgene Outdoor has been your trusted companion, fueling adventures and helping protect the planet. We're committed to reducing waste, improving access to clean water, and providing simple, safe, and sustainable products for you and your family. No gimmicks, just durable, well-designed bottles built to last. Join us on our mission to amplify life, not complicate it. Because at Nalgene, what goes into our bottles matters as much as the adventures they fuel. Explore more at nalgene.com. That's NALGENE.com.
I know you're gonna love this Kodak Dot Plus printer. You guys just connect it to your smartphone and then you're gonna use the Kodak Photo Print app. It's going to print you a 4x6 photo. I am just in awe. I love how these turned out. Also, the printer comes with a free cartridge of 10 photo sheets. I can assure you, you are going to love this printer as much as my family has. You guys have to check it out for yourself.
Welcome to Kitbag, the ultimate destination for football fans. Whether you're cheering for Arsenal, Chelsea, Manchester United, or any other top club, we've got your team's colors running through our veins. From official replica kits to custom player prints of your favorite stars like Ronaldo, Messi, and Kane, Kitbag is your one-stop shop for all things football. Powered by Fanatics, we deliver to over 180 countries, ensuring you get the gear you need fast. For true football passion, think Kitbag. Visit kitbag.com today. That's KITBAG.com. Kitbag.
Farmhound's approach is a little different than a traditional treat company. We get to work with local farmers who are putting everything they can into regenerative farming. From the soil to the animals to the ecosystem. They care about how animals are raised and how we treat the earth. It's not just product, but it's part of that story. It's connected to just a whole lot more.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome back. It's the Down and Dirty with Scott Mitchell here on YouTube. So glad you could join us. Thank you for being a part of our show. Download, subscribe, do all that stuff. Like us. We appreciate it. We do. I don't even know why we always say it's become so commonplace that like yeah, I think it's because a lot of people will watch, but they won't necessarily like or subscribe, and it's helpful and it's appreciated. So we hope that you do that kind of thing. Okay. Tonight, we have an exciting event happening. Almost seems a little climactic right now because of everything that's going on in the NFL. I love Dan Lanning's suggestion of just having the playoffs, having all of college football just happen right after the season ends. And I think one of the challenges with that, not that it's a challenge, it's a brilliant idea. It's absolutely the way it should be and should go. The college football is reinventing itself. It's trying to figure out what really makes sense. How do we move forward when we've basically shift our whole paradigm? We've just really flipped the script on this one, changed our whole narrative, and where you get team, you get the NFL. It's been around a long time. You go, yeah, the season ends. We go into the playoffs. We have a championship, and so college football is like, well, the season gets over, and we all kind of take a break, and we have bowl games, and we have them kind of whenever, wherever. They're all over the place. They're all through the month of December, even some into the first part of January, and that's kind of how we've done things. And so now it's like, well, do bowl games matter? Does that really, So we're talking about a national championship here in the middle of January, and the school's already started. Teams have already had new players show up, which Kyle Whittingham on last week, and I said, well, can the players play? Because it's but it's an old year, but it's a new year, and it's like, they can show up and they can practice and they can do a bunch of stuff, but they can't actually participate in the game, which is I think a good question, and I'm glad that I was clarified by that. But and I can imagine for Indiana and Miami, everyone's like, well, it's got to hurt them because they're playing in a national championship game, and yet I would think it would actually help you, because think about it. You bring in, I guess you bring these guys in the portal and you go, yeah, we're still prepared. We're getting ready to play the national championship. You come to Indiana, that's what we do. You come to Miami, that's what we do, kind of thing. And so I would imagine that it would have a positive impact as opposed to a negative one. I don't know how they do it. I don't know how you go, here's the most important game. I mean, Indiana, this is the first time they're ever going to play for a national championship. Miami hasn't played for a national championship since 2003. And really, if you think about Indiana and Miami, there are some similarities. They're just happening in different times. Miami was not a program that anyone thought about. And then all of a sudden, Howard Schnellenberger went to Miami, and it became a thing. And then a lot of people continued to go there and coach there, and it still was a thing. And it was a thing for decades. And Miami was considered a national power. And here you think about Miami playing, I think it was 1986. Vinny Testaverde was at Miami, and it was, and they're playing Penn State for a national championship. And clearly the more athletic was Miami, but that Penn State just whooped up on them. And yet, so here's this upstart Miami program kind of trying to find itself in the world of college football, and it did, and produced some of the greatest players, I think, well, in college football history, but also in the NFL. I mean, some just player after player came from Miami. Some phenomenal players did, and so you have Indiana, who's kind of on the cusp of a similar type of situation, just at a different time in the world of college football. I mean, no one thought of the University of Miami as a football program, and no one thought of Indiana as that team as well. And so now you have this game, and it's a fascinating game to me, because I think people thought, I don't think people thought either one of these teams would be here, quite frankly. I think everyone thought, okay, it's kind of a fluke, this is Ohio State's year, Ohio State, blah, 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 blah. And yet, Indiana just kept looking good. And and then you have Miami, who's like, well, we don't think Miami should be in this game. We think, it should be Indiana. It should be someone else, but not Miami. And you go, how could Miami go and be playing for a national championship and they can't win their conference in a conference that really, I think, of the Power Four conferences in the world today, you might argue is the is the fourth best conference. Everyone's trying to get out of that conference. They're trying to, like, we signed the death sentence of a rights deal for the next 20 billion years. And we don't want it. We don't want to be a part of this conference. We want to get out of here. And I think Miami's one of those teams. Clemson, maybe you could argue Florida State. Who knows? But no one wants to be in the conference. And so you can't win your conference, and now you're playing for a national championship. I remember watching Miami when they played SMU, one of their losses. I didn't really I kind of watched the game when they played Notre Dame at the beginning of the year, but not as closely as I did the game against SMU. And I go, Miami really isn't that good. like Carson Beck is like, throwing interceptions. They just, and I didn't think, SMU is a good team. They're clearly kind of moving in the right direction with things, have a lot of money. But neither one of these teams look good. And I was sitting here going, well, I don't think Miami's a college football playoff team. I was not seeing that. And then all of a sudden, I don't know what like switch flipped on. I have no idea. All I know is something something flipped on, and they have just been a different team, a locked in team, a team that has been playing just really phenomenal defense, and Carson Beck has been lights out. I mean, to watch that last drive to get to the national championship game. Again, it goes back to what I've said on this show, and I've said a million times. The quarterback he just threw the ball where he needed to throw it, and these were not easy throws. They were accurate throws. They were downfield throws. They were money throws. And then the game's on the line, and he doesn't make a stupid throw, and actually goes and scores a touchdown, which is something that I don't know is the hallmark of his career. But this game also, speaking of these quarterbacks, goes back to what I was talking about in our earlier segments about not necessarily giving up on guys, or there's something to be said about maturity. And I wonder if this is going to be a trend that actually goes forward, and simply because of this whole idea these players are getting paid a lot of money, and it's very conducive for them to stay at schools. You look at Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels started at Arizona State, and then he goes to LSU and stays through his time, and is a very mature. Bo Nix, same thing. This whole idea of moving around doesn't seem to hurt people. A lot of guys have moved, and it's actually been kind of beneficial, and not in the sense of because I'm always really, it's all about, like, what do you gain from moving or staying? Like, you stay in a situation, a guy like Tom Brady, he fights his way out of Michigan, and that was some seasoning, or some grit and determination. You go back to Steve Young, and he talks about being the 8th-string quarterback at BYU. The coach says, I'll quit coaching if Steve Young is the quarterback, because he can't throw. Like Doug Scoville. I mean, that it was kind of that mindset, and yet that staying with the program and working and finding that toughness from that, or some of these guys that move to different programs. And I think there's a toughness that comes from that as well, because you have to learn a new system. You're with new teammates. You have to take on this role, or because, are you going to be a guy that they trust, and you got to build that again, and that's a challenging thing to do, and so um, it seems like movement, because Mendoza and Beck both didn't start. They didn't go through the program. They were picked up in the program, and it feels like, that I don't want to say is the way things are going to go, but it certainly feels like it's the way things are trending. And now you have Indiana. So fascinating stuff going on at Miami. Didn't really feel like they were even a playoff team. And now I think, they deserve to be there. They've won some tough games. They've traveled a lot of miles. They've gone through and weathered a lot of storms. They've had to win close games. Texas A&M is not a great environment. It's not it's a tough place to play. And they just showed a lot of resolve. And I think you even have a coach. Before I get to Indiana, you have a coach in Mario Cristobal. Watching him at Oregon, and he had Justin Herbert, and of course he played against Utah, and Utah beat him in the well, they won one year, went to the Rose Bowl, but then and a lot of it, I don't know that he really handled Justin Herbert per se, that, because I think he's a tremendous talent. And so I think, I don't think he mismanaged Justin Herbert. I just remember thinking, man, if they ever unleashed this guy, what would he look like? Well, he was a guy that ended up winning the Rose Bowl, is what he looked like. And it's a kind of the similar thing with Carr. It just seems like there's been a better maturation of your quarterback situation for Mario Cristobal, and he seems like a guy that's just really dialed in and really focused on where he's going to be. Now, on the other side of it, you have Indiana, and Cignetti is just it's like he, to me, is what I love about sports. Like, here's a guy who has been in a lot of different situations and coached a lot of different places, and yet has kind of gone an unorthodox route to get where he is, and has been a guy that has tremendous belief in what he's doing and where he is, and maybe it's like, the only job I'm going to get right now is Indiana. If I'm going to be the head coach and I'm going to be in big time college football, this is all you get. It's just all you get. And Indiana is like, we're not Ohio State, we're not Michigan, we're not all these things. We're not a football school. We're not a football school. I mean, they've had players go through there and what have you. Not a lot, but it's certainly been a basketball school. And so it's a lot of times people like Kirk Cignetti who just go, yeah, I kind of got bypassed or overlooked, or people didn't really give me a lot of respect. And I feel that way a little bit about Indiana. I think now it's a different thing. And and I wonder if this chip on your shoulder, us against the world mindset, it feels a little bit like that. It feels a little bit a little chippy. And I wonder if you run into a situation like where now all of a sudden I think everyone goes, well, Indiana's the favorite. Like, look at what they've done in the playoffs. Look at how they just handled Alabama. Look at how they handled Oregon, and watch it, and it's going to be the same kind of thing. And I think that whole thing has been the mantra of this Indiana football team. We're the one that no one even now respects. It doesn't matter it doesn't matter that we beat Ohio State. It doesn't matter that we're undefeated. It doesn't matter. No one is going to give us respect. And now I think everyone is. I think they say, okay, you've got our attention now. And so can you maintain that world of, I'm the underdog, there's no respect. And maybe you just always you just always have that because Michael Jordan did it, Tom Brady did it. All these great players, they just go, yeah, don't count me. Just go ahead, count me out, disrespect me. That's what I learned. So like when I played for the Dolphins, it was like, and on occasion, I would go play golf with Dan Marino. Sounds like, anyways, and he was fiercely competitive. And if you talk trash, you're like, I'm gonna kick your butt today. Like that was the worst thing you could do because you're just inciting a riot. But if you said, oh man, Dan, I don't know, what you've been taking lessons, man, you hit the ball so good. What's and so when you butter people up, they kind of let their guard down. And it's the only way you can win or even have a chance to win. And I wonder if, that's kind of the mindset, because it feels like to me that Indiana should win this game. And it feels like it shouldn't even be close, right? Just based on everything that's happening. Now this game is in Miami. I mean, it is literally a home game for Miami. So I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing. It's Mario Cristobal, I think, because it's going to be an evenly, the crowd's not going to be, it's not a home crowd. You're only going to get so many tickets for the game. And I have to believe both of these teams are going to just go, we are taking our absolute lot of the tickets that we're going to get for this game. It feels like it should be an Indiana game. It's just a question of, can they keep that kind of us against the world mindset? And it's just going to boil down to, these two quarterbacks, who can make the throws, who can make the plays in the big moments, as it always is. So it's going to be fascinating to watch. I love that college football has been turned on its ear. I absolutely love it. I love that. I love that. This is Indiana, and Miami's been down. So they've been down for a long time. So this is turning its ear on college football, and I hope more of it happens in the future. I really do, and quite frankly, I hope they expand the college football playoffs and put more teams in, and there's more opportunities because nobody at the beginning of the year said Miami's going to be playing Indiana in the college football playoffs. So here we go. All right, more to come. Bill Belichick, I know the perfect place for him to go coach. We'll talk about that. So much more. Story time. We're going to tell a story today. It'll be fun. All right. This is Down and Dirty. Scott Mitchell will be back shortly.
Tervis is all about staying hydrated with style and durability. You can trust Tervis tumblers to keep your drinks the perfect temperature, hot or cold, for hours. From the classic insulated tumblers to sleek stainless steel water bottles, each product is built to last and comes in endless designs to match your personality. Stay refreshed and express yourself with Tervis. Visit tervis.com today and find your perfect tumbler.
Hey, sports fans, welcome back. It's the Down and Dirty with Scott Mitchell here on YouTube. Thank you for joining the show. Some pretty surprising news coming out of the world of the NFL, and it had nothing to do with the games yesterday, other than it did. The Buffalo Bills have fired their head coach, Sean McDermott, and I think that's it's a rather shocking thing for me. I think a lot of people, but we also are never shocked. There's always a surprise around the corner. We all feel like, oh, we've seen everything at this point, and we never have. It's why we tune in. It's why it makes it so interesting and compelling. But there was an interesting take. So now the Buffalo Bills are in search of a new football coach. Of course, Sean McDermott is now in search of a new football job, and there's a lot of openings, and a new one popped up today. The guys at ESPN, of course, had an interesting take, specifically Rex Ryan, about where Bill Belichick should coach next year. Maybe you can connect the dots. We will in just a minute, but here's what those folks had to say.
Who's the right person, in your opinion? Look, this is about Allen. You've got Josh Allen. Shefty mentioned he's going to turn 30. Basically, he's the midway point of his career. He has demonstrated that he is as good as any quarterback that ever lived. I'm watching the game 50 years. No one's ever been better than this guy, but he has nothing to show for it, and as far as the hardware that separates these guys from one another. Who are we thinking about?
Yeah, Brian Dable and Joe Brady would be the first two names that come to my mind. And I don't think it's just about Josh Allen. We've seen Josh Allen be remarkable for the last 5 or 6 years. He has nothing at the end game to show for it. I think Shefty intimating or referencing that there's people around the league that thought this team played tight. They give up over 31 a game on defense in the playoffs. And so it's not just about Josh. It's about really getting that team to play its very best when it's needed most. The team, not just the quarterback. I also sit there and say that there were some moves that could have been made. You know, I watched the Jacksonville Jaguars go and get Jacoby Myers this year, flip their season. I watched a dude open Saturday night playoffs for a 96-yard kick return to Rashid Shaheed that I think got traded for something like a 5th-round pick. So there's certainly some other parts that could have impacted this team in a positive way. But the two names, Dable and Joe Brady, would be at the top of my list.
Dable is interesting to me because obviously he had the failures with the Giants. You gotta partner him up with a hell of a defensive coordinator if he does.
I like Bobby
that
Babbitt,
route.
who's there now.
Well, he is a good coach, but why do you give up over 30 in a playoff game?
True,
He's got to be
true,
part of the problem.
true.
He's gone.
That's fair.
So to me, when I look at it, look, Brian's a local guy. He lives in Buffalo. He loves it. It makes sense. But I'd love to get him as an offensive coordinator. If you can get the greatest coach in the history of our game, and everybody can say that, oh, well, let's pass him by because he doesn't have Tom Brady. Well, he's got a different guy if you get him this coach. And I am telling you, I feel strong about this.
All right, Rex Ryan, of course, he didn't hear it on the clip, but Rex Ryan is talking about none other than Bill Belichick. Of course, you added Tom Brady in there. I think it'd be a brilliant move. I 1,000% think it would be a brilliant move to have Bill Belichick go back. It's the perfect kind of place. The folks in New England, or not New England, but Western New York would go bananas for for Bill Belichick. It's in the old division. Oh, but I mean, that just the drama of all of that would like. I think all the Buffalo Bill fans should actually go and pay. And just put a GoFundMe to buy out Bill Belichick at North Carolina. Look, Bill Belichick does not belong at North Carolina. Like that's the most fingers on a chalkboard sound I think you could make. So he absolutely needs to go to Buffalo. Now, some interesting. Dan Orlovsky said some interesting things about. It's not just the quarterback. No, it is just the quarterback. It really is. Bill Belichick will get that defense in the right spot and where it needs to be, but you need to have the quarterback. And I look at Josh Allen, and you talk about the middle of his career, right? I'm not sure that this is the middle of Josh Allen's career, and part of it is because Josh Allen has taken a lot of shots. Like Josh Allen's a big dude. He'll go in there, he'll mix it up. And that accumulative effect over a career, I don't see Josh Allen playing into his 40s. Just not because I don't think he's capable. I'm not sure that his body, because of what he's putting his body through, can make it. You look at these guys that play into their 40s. They're guys that don't take shots, don't get hit, and even at that point, you get into that part of your career into your 40s, and it's a challenge to continue to play. But it would be phenomenal for Bill Belichick to go to the Buffalo Bills. I mean, that would just be, and really, I think it's one of those things that and I don't know how the NFL actually can get into this as far as um, you know influencing it, making it. We strongly suggest. We really think this is a brilliant idea for you to look into here. This, and it would be fascinating to see kind of, because what coaches would end up going with a guy like Bill Belichick, and considering Mike Vrabel, has Josh McDaniels, and is that a guy, who else, I mean, they threw out Brian Daboll's name as a coordinator, and maybe that's a really good possibility. Who knows? But I think the NFL, I think the the Buffalo Bills, everyone deserves this. Now I look at Josh Allen, and like I said, is he halfway through his career? And maybe plays into his late 30s. I don't, so he's got eight-ish, 9 years maybe. And that's a long time to play. But you look at a guy like Matthew Stafford, and you look at the early part of his career, and you look at how talented he was, and you look at how, big a waste it was for him early on in his career. And now he's had this resurgence. And I think Matthew Stafford's, it looks like he can still play at a high level. It's going to be fascinating to see what happens with the Rams when their season is over, to see, where, because it looks like Matthew Stafford could still play. Like, it doesn't look like there's any drop off at all in where he is. But it certainly feels like there's probably very few opportunities for the Rams to get back to the Super Bowl with Matthew Stafford. It feels like it's pretty close to, towards the end. But with the Bills and with Josh Allen, I think looking at Matthew Stafford and going, look, it took me a long time before I ever got to a point of winning a Super Bowl. And I think there's almost a sense of, so they mentioned this whole idea of playing too tight, right, for the Bills. And I don't know that it's almost trying too hard. I don't know that too tight maybe is necessary. It's like there's a certain rhythm, a certain cadence to playing the game, and that cadence can't change based on the severity of the moment. Like it's almost when you push too hard, you try too hard, that's when the really bad things begin to happen, and it's just a weird phenomena, and that's what it feels like to me more than, oh yeah, you've got this, you have this this coach is bad or whatever, and so it's finding the coach that can kind of keep you in that rhythm and that cadence, and I think Bill Belichick is certainly a guy that could do that. But whoever it is, it's going to be a fascinating pick, simply because this is a team that's built to win now, and maybe you add, as they mentioned, a few pieces here and there, and I thought they did. I mean, Bosa was a pick, and that was a pretty good addition to this team, and an upgrade. I don't think they've been sitting there not trying to do anything. So I don't know that I agree with Dan Orlovsky on that, but what I do like is, this is a great situation. You get the right coach in here, it could really be that guy that jumps them over the top. Again, almost like the film, you have Andy Reid, who's a really good coach, and for whatever reason just couldn't get the Eagles over the top, and then a new guy comes in, Doug Peterson, and does it, and even a newer guy comes in Nick Sirianni and does it again. So. certainly, and it's a place where never won a Super Bowl, and it just feels like to me the Buffalo Bills in the next whatever years are going to find a way to win a Super Bowl. And boy, would Bill Belichick just be a great addition to that. All right, well, we're going to take another break. But when we come back, it's story time. So Martin, my ever faithful producer, said, I should tell some stories. And so I got a good one. It's one of my favorite, and we'll just start with some good stuff here. So when we return, I'm going to tell you a story. This is the Down and Dirty Scott Mitchell on YouTube.
You probably get unwanted emails almost every single day.
Overwhelmed by your inbox? Clean Email is here to help. Organize, clean, and manage your emails with powerful automation tools. Say goodbye to spam and clutter and enjoy a stress-free inbox. Try Clean Email today at cleanemail.com. That's CLEAN email.com. Get paid faster with Bill, the easiest way to send, receive, and manage your payments. No more delays, no more hassle. Whether you're a freelancer or a business, Bill makes payments seamless and secure, simple, fast, and reliable. Sign up today at Bill.com.
When you learn a language with Babbel, you start a journey that takes you further and further. Anytime and anywhere you wish. It's easy and fun. Broadens your horizons and keeps your brain fit. A journey into new thoughts, new cultures, new adventures. So what are you waiting for? Start your journey with Babbel now. Go to babbel.com or download the app.
Have you ever wondered why so many pet parents are choosing to have virtual vet appointments? Online veterinary care is making it easier than ever to get expert advice for your pet. Our professionals are not only experts in managing urgent concerns, but also in providing top-notch preventative health care. We're proud to connect pet owners to a vast network of licensed veterinary professionals, ready to address any immediate concerns and expand access to pet care. Book your first appointment today.
Hey, sports fans, welcome back. It's the Down and Dirty with Scott Mitchell here on YouTube. So glad you could join us. I'm joined here with my producer, esteemed producer, Chicago native, Martin Kelly. Of course, Martin, my heart goes out to you. I was super excited. The catch in the end zone, I thought, oh my goodness, this is going to be amazing. And then just a crushing defeat after that. So clearly you've gone on. You no longer have your Bears stuff available. Are the Bears dead to you? Is that what's happening in your world these days?
No, the Bears aren't dead to me. It's just the end of the Bears season. Moving on. Got to pack it up, get ready for another season. It's hockey season right now. Chicago Blackhawks are playing pretty well. So baseball season's less than 3 months away, so I'll rock some White Sox gear when that comes around too.
So you're basically that guy that, when Christmas is over, the Christmas music's gone, the decorations are down the next day.
Absolutely.
Just moving on.
As soon as January 2nd happens, everything goes back into the closet.
Didn't you have like a day of like mourning or something, or just, I don't know, a week? Shouldn't you just wear a black armband or something? I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go in mourning for the Chicago Bears until maybe the Super Bowl's over, and I'll wear something I'll just tell you, Caleb Williams, I think he's turned a big corner. So don't get all bunched up in a knot over Caleb Williams. He's
I'm not. I'm proud of the Chicago Bears. They went farther than I thought. A lot of people thought 5-7 wins. 11 wins, had a winning record against the team up north and darn old cheeseheads. We won a playoff game for the first time in 15 years. I couldn't be even more proud. You heard it here right first on this program. Caleb Williams will be the MVP next season. He will throw 4,000 yards. He will throw 45 touchdowns. He will lead the Bears to the NFC Championship game. It will be at Soldier Field. And when the Bears are ready to move to Gary, Indiana, I will root for the Gary, Indiana Chicago Bears too.
Well, I don't think you're going to be wrong. I think there's going to come a point where that happens with Caleb Williams. He's a talent, and I think he's got the right coach to help him out. Okay, so Martin had brought up this idea of me telling some stories about my experience in sports, and so we have kind of a fun story to share. Kind of these are some of the down and dirty, insightful moments that people enjoy. So I want to show you a clip. This is the first time in the NFL that I actually got to play any significant time, and boy, was it a moment. And I'll give you all the down and dirty details here after I show you this clip.
Teams at the Dog Pound. Don Shula, drafted by the Browns back in 1951, and watching Dan Marino in the second quarter suffer a torn right Achilles tendon, potential season-ending injury. Scott Mitchell comes in with a 10-7 lead. His first throw, not good. Najee Mustafa intercepts and takes it 97 yards for the touchdown at a 14-10 Browns lead. Najee had a 97-yard run back of a pickoff when he was with the Vikings. That's when he was Reggie Rutland, so the second of his career. Third quarter, 14-10 Browns. Scott Mitchell finally gets it going. One of two touchdown passes here, the lefty to Tony Martin for his first NFL TD pass. The Dolphins have the lead and went on to win it as Dan Marino watched Mitchell lead his team to victory, 24-14. Kosar once again replaced by Testaverde. He was sacked 5 times, and Coach Bill Belichick has named Vinny as his starter the rest of the way. Miami did not have Marco Coleman. John Offerdahl left with a separated shoulder.
Okay, that was quite a moment. Actually, that whole game was quite a moment. So let me go back a day before the game. We always flew to an opposing team the day before. So we're flying from Miami to Cleveland, and on the airplane, I get sick. And there's something is bothering my eye, and I start to feel, symptoms of being sick. By the time we landed in Cleveland, I was so sick that they ended up taking me to the hospital. So this is the day before this game. So I end up in the hospital, and I'm being examined by a doctor, and he says, this is really bad. Like, he's got a highly contagious form of pink eye, which I don't even know if that was actually the case or not, because I was brutally sick. And so the doctor says he can't play in the game tomorrow. And our athletic trainer says, well, it doesn't matter. Scott doesn't play anyways. Dan Marino's like our guy. Well, they took me back from the hospital to the hotel. They put me in my own room. So I'm in a room all by myself. And which wasn't normally the case. I normally had a roommate. Jeff Dellenbach was, who's the guy that's hugging me in the clip, by the way, was my roommate on the road. Good friend, great guy. And anyway, so I'm stuck in a room by myself in this hotel room, or in this hotel, and I'm all night, do not sleep at all. Like, I'm up puking. I've got headaches. I'm just miserable. And I remember at one moment in the middle of the night, while I'm not sleeping, I was laying on the bed, and I'm looking up at the ceiling. And at this point in my career, I'd never played. I'd played, maybe 5 or 6 plays. They were all mop up, take a knee, hand the ball off, finish a game kind of thing. And that was it. And so this is about the 4th game of the season of my 4th year in the NFL. So at this point, my first 3 years in the NFL, very, very limited playing time. And so I'm laying there in this bed, looking up at the ceiling going, this will be the game that Dan Marino gets hurt. I just could feel it. I could sense it. I literally was saying this out loud in the room. And I had worked so hard to get prepared to have a chance. And it was frustrating because I watched every quarterback that was drafted my year, and players drafted even years after. And all these guys were getting opportunities to play because they didn't have a guy like Dan Marino in front of them. And he, and it was wonderful. I mean, every meeting I sat between Coach Shula and Dan Marino for 4 years and got to learn from the best. And it was remarkable. And so in a lot of ways it was very cherished, but I wanted to play. I wanted to be out there every week. So and there just never was an opportunity. And I thought, just this would be the day. I'm sick, I can't play, and Dan Marino's going to get hurt. Now, what I didn't know at the time was we had a quarterback meeting the night before the game. The quarterbacks get together for half an hour, just last minute reminders, whatever. And there were only two of us. There was Dan Marino and myself. We were the only quarterbacks on the team. And then we had Tony Martin, who actually caught that touchdown pass that they showed on the highlight. Tony Martin was the backup quarterback who he played quarterback in college. So Tony goes to this quarterback meeting, and Marino in the meeting says, "Relax, Tony. I don't ever get hurt. You're not going to play. It's totally fine." So the next morning, no sleep. I go to breakfast. The team doctor says, "How do you feel?" And I said, "Well, I didn't sleep at all last night, but in an emergency, if I had to play, I could probably play." He says, "Dress for the game, then don't warm up, and just stay away from everyone." So I go on the field before the game starts, and I'm sitting there, and only time in my entire life, I'm in my uniform. I don't throw a pass. I don't stretch a muscle. I don't sweat a drop. And I'm just sitting there. So we go through, we get halfway through the second quarter. Marino, as you see, blows out his Achilles, and Shula turns to me and goes, "Hey, Mitchell, you're in the game." And I'm like, I can't believe this is happening. This is like surreal. This is like a Hollywood out of the, crazy moments in my life. And so now I haven't thrown a pass. I'm trying to throw passes. I'm trying to warm up. I'm taking snaps from the center. I'm doing anything. I'm doing jumping jacks on the sideline, just trying to just move, just to do anything. And then I just start to laugh because I'm like, I can't believe this. Of all the moments and of all the time and all the preparation that I put into being ready to play, I'm playing in the worst moment of my entire career. Like I like, who doesn't warm up for a game? I didn't sleep the night before. I mean, I was about as ill prepared to go in that game as I've ever been ill prepared to do anything in my life. And then I go in the game, and that's the first play that you see, and it's a 97-yard interception return for a touchdown. Now, what you don't see is Irving Fryer actually slips and falls down on the play, and so Najee's able to actually make a break on the ball and throw, and he gets the interception. Now, what happens next is legendary. So we get the ball back. We're now in the 2-minute drill. We're behind, and I'm like, okay. I get the ball, first pass. I throw this deep out, and it's another interception. Now, it wasn't intercepted because he was out of bounds, and they showed a replay of it on TV, and he wasn't out of bounds, but they just called him out of bounds. So I was like, I was going to be 2 for 2 to the Cleveland Browns. We graciously go into halftime after that play. They kind of kneel on the ball, run the half out. We go in at halftime, and I'm sitting in the Cleveland Browns Municipal Stadium, which is an iconic place in the NFL. Like, it's one of the great places of, there's just, great players, great moments. You think of the drive with John Elway, you think of the dog pound, you think of Jim Brown and Otto Graham, and the great Browns teams, and the cardiac kit. I mean, there's just tons of legendary games have been played in that stadium. And I'm in the locker room, and Coach Shula's addressing the team, and he said, "Everything's going to be fine, and we're going to be fine. We're going to win this game." And I looked around, and I could tell that not a single person believed him, including myself, probably in the moment. And I like, no, everything isn't fine. This guy was in the hospital. He hasn't slept. He's been sick. He's never played in a game. And all he's done so far is throw interceptions. And he's not Dan Marino. And so I leave the locker room, a long walk out the tunnel to get back on the field. And I'm sitting there on the sideline, and and I'm warming up before the second half. And I just feel in my gut, it's like, I just need to go talk to the offensive players, because I haven't really, I haven't really said anything. I'm basically in shock. I go, here I'm in this game and never really played, and I just felt like I needed to say something to my teammates, and I said, okay, I'm going to do it in the huddle before the first play. So we got the ball first, and in my mind, I'm like, I don't know how long this talk is going to go on in the huddle, but if it requires a delay of game, then I'm willing to take that chance. So I was going to have a conversation with all the offensive players in the huddle, and because there was no point in calling a play until we kind of got ourselves situated right. Now, if I would have been smart, I might have said something like, what John Elway said when they were on the 3-yard line. He said, "Hey, we got him right where we want him." Or Joe Montana in the huddle said, "Hey, isn't that John Candy at the other end of the field there?" So I didn't, I was too young to come up with some clever type of statement. So I just spoke from my heart, and I just said, "Listen, don't worry about me. Just go do your job. I'm ready for this, and we're going to win the game." And that's all I said. And everyone was like, "Yeah, let's go." So in the second half, I threw 2 touchdown passes. So I had 3 touchdown passes on the day, 2 to our team, 1 to their team. And it showed a clip of my statistics. And I don't want you to look this up because I want to keep it in my head. It said I had 118 yards. I thought I had 250. So I may be wrong on that. All I know is we won the game. And after we won the game, I was named AFC Offensive Player of the Week in the very first game that I played in the NFL. And it was insane how amazing that feeling was, and how I went from just sick as a dog, not warming up, not sleeping all night, not having any energy. I hadn't eaten for almost 2 days. I didn't really eat anything on the airplane. I didn't eat I didn't eat anything for breakfast. I didn't eat, so it'd been quite a while since I'd actually had something to eat. And so it couldn't have been a worse circumstance, but I will tell you, I had a moment, and it wasn't throwing the touchdown pass. It wasn't winning the game. It was a moment, and it was the coolest moment by far, I think, of my playing career, and one of the top moments in my life. With kids being born, some other things, much more meaningful. But as I midway through the second half, we broke the huddle, and I was approaching the line of scrimmage, and I looked over at the Cleveland defense. And they had a really good defense. And there was Clay Matthews, who was this player, played 23 million years in the NFL. I mean, he played forever. And I knew who he was, and he was a great player. And I remember looking right at Clay Matthews. And I just thought in my mind, it's like, I own Clay Matthews today. Like they can't touch me. I am beating the Cleveland Browns defense today, and I belong here. And as a kid growing up, you have these dreams. You go, man, I'm going to be a great, football player, and I'm going to do all these things, and you dream about it. And you always wonder, is it going to happen? And for me, I kept my dreaming and did a lot of things to get myself on that football field, and they weren't easy. And there was a lot of time, and a lot of people said, "Man, you you were the luckiest guy in the world, because what happened that year is I went on, played very well. I got injured later on in the season, which was really hard to, but we were humming as a football team, and I was as a player, and that was the beginning of free agency, and people were like, "Oh man, you just got lucky," you just, and I'm like, their luck had nothing to do with that. It was like I had an opportunity, and I had prepared myself for years, for decades, quite frankly, for that moment. And so when it happened, I was ready to meet the moment and take advantage of the moment. And it was somewhat offensive to me because it made this assumption, well, you weren't any good. And it's like it's just so dumb, because you just got in the right situation at the right time. It's like, no, I was good. Like I was prepared for this. It was a brutal thing, Martin, when every week you prepare to play as a backup quarterback, and you have no idea when you're going to go in a game, and so you don't get reps in practice. You don't, you have pregame nerves pretty much the entire game. You're just, and everyone knows there's just a jitteriness before a game starts, and all the people that get to go play, that goes away. But when you don't play, you're just like, am I going to go in this play? Am I going to go? Oh, we got hit hard right there. Do I go in? And I went through that for, a little over 3 years, every single game. And not only, it gets hard because you get demoralized. It's fun playing in games. And you work all this time in practice, you do all these things, and then you get to go out and you get to play in a game. And for me, early on in my career, that wasn't the case. And so it was really hard every week to get yourself ready to play with a limited opportunity to play. And so often, people, I don't think they realize the emotional and the mental and the physical challenge it is to actually to be a backup. And we had a really good team, and I didn't ever want to let anyone down, because I was like, because these guys work so hard, and you come in the game and you're like, you don't want to be the guy to screw everything up. And so it meant a lot to me, but it was super challenging, but it was the coolest thing. And then the next year I went to Detroit, and Mike Johnson, who was a middle linebacker for the Browns, a really really good player, and he was in Detroit with me, and he goes, man, what got into, because he goes, we didn't know who you were, and he goes, you were just tearing us apart and all this stuff. And he said, and you faked me out one time, so he says, and I know never to leave my feet, but man, I just believed that you were throwing that football, and you just pump faked it, and so it was just really cool later on to kind of have that validation. But when you realize your dream, and which is what that moment was for me, is really the coolest moment you can have. And it was so cool because it took the path it took to get there. And so I always appreciate the stories of all these people, and when they realize their dream, but it's the story that got them there. So there you have it. That's my story of the first time I played in the NFL of any significance. It's not the first play. In fact, the first play, I should actually tell that story sometime, because the very first play I played in the NFL is also another really good story.
I love that story. That's a really good one. Watching the highlights with you, I'm just thinking, what were you looking at, man? The DB did on that one so easily.
No,
man.
well, you think he did, but he actually did. So it was, well, first of all, it's like, it's my first play in the game. We're on the 8-yard line. Okay. And I've never like, why are you calling this play knowing the circumstances that I was in? And it basically, we had 4 wide receivers in the play, and they were just option routes. So each guy would just basically went up, and based on the technique of the defender, you just run a little option route, which is, the option is you can break in or you can break out. And so you as a quarterback go, I got 4 guys here. I'm just going to pick the guy who has the one-on-one matchup, and you kind of work one side of the field or the other. Well, I was left-handed, and so I just kind of and then what they did is the inside, because that's the easiest throw right there, and that most of the time that's who you're going to go to. And I was going to go to, I'm like, I'm going to go to the inside guy right here, and they doubled him. So the single receiver guy was on the outside, which was Irving Fryer, and he slipped and fell down. And the worst case scenario is he would have knocked the ball away, but he slipped, he just and he lost his footing, and so Najee actually was able to intercept it. By the way, just a little side note on that, for the longest time, it was a Cleveland Browns record. It was the longest interception returned for a touchdown. So I was in the Cleveland Browns record book for many years, and I actually, I don't know, I just thought it would be funny. Looked it up. I don't know, it was maybe a couple years ago, and someone has, I've since returned one, I think 100 yards or something like that. So
all right, the record book. You know what? We'll tease this. Another story I want to hear is that same season is you in Dallas with 3 feet of snow on Thanksgiving Day when Leon Lett decided to play a little fun with the football. There's a story we got to talk about one day down the road.
We got lots of stories. Lots of stories, lots of time.
Lots of time.
So there you have it. A little story time with Martin. All right, that's all we have for today. Hope you've enjoyed the show as much as we've enjoyed sharing it with you. This has been the Down and Dirty with Scott Mitchell. Thank you, Martin. Thank you, Zach, everyone who helps make this wonderful. Hope you have a great day today. And until then, we'll see you then.
We are Rogue Media Sports.